Well, a warm welcome to today's talk, Wednesday the 19th of July. Now, I'm going to start off by answering some of the critics about yesterday's video with Senator Rennick and the video we did on the Western Australia data that they've published on vaccine adverse reactions. Now, this is the excess mortality in Australia for May 2021. And that's for June, that's for July, that's for August, that's for September. October it was up to over 7,000. And that's data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics that we looked at yesterday. Now, the critique has been that, well, there's a pandemic going on. You would expect excess deaths. But if we look at this graph here for Australia, we actually see that in 2021, Australia actually didn't have a pandemic. The cases in Australia, well, there were a few there in September 21, but very, very few. Basically, the pandemic in Australia started with the new year of 2022, because, of course, Australia was largely locked down. And it's especially the case for Western Australia that was locked down for slightly longer than the rest of Australia as a whole. So we see that the Australian pandemic was really quite delayed. And if we look at that in comparison, say, to the United States, so we see that in the United States, and this is just official cases that have been recorded, we see there was a lot of cases in 2020, 2021 in the United States, in blue, but in Australia, we've got the big Omicron wave there in the United States and Australia. But we see while Australian numbers remained high, the United States numbers went down because the whole Australian pandemic was kind of moved along a bit because of their lockdown measures. So this excess mortality, we can say definitively that the 7,129 excess deaths in October 2021 in Australia were not due to the coronavirus infections per se, or at least the vast majority of them. They were due to some other cause. Now, I don't normally do this, but I've got some really quite interesting feedback from these videos. And you can actually do a bit of a qualitative analysis on your feedback. Do take time to read it because it is quite intriguing. Let me just give you a few examples. I'm not going to give names because I haven't got individual permissions, but it is there in the feedback if you want to look at it. As an Australian, I feel utterly let down. Grateful to Western Australia for making this report available, but it leaves such a bad taste in the mouth to know we were lied to. Very common sentiment I'm getting. I did not want the vaccine, but felt pushed from all sides to get it. Another report. As a Western Australian, I can say that doctors were discouraged to report adverse events, and Senator Rennick said this yesterday about his cardiologist friend, and were reprimanded if they reported too many. I mean, these are just reports from you. I have no idea if this is true or not, of course, from this data, but the red flag system in Australia took about 45 minutes to report, and doctors were not paid to do so. Another report, this data is absolutely doctored and controlled. And again, GPs who weren't afraid to report these events started getting phone calls from the Department of Health questioning their opinions and asking them to retract their reports. My mother was vaccine injured and did not report it to the VRAS. This is the United States system. I imagine others like her is part of why the numbers in the United States are low. I live in Alberta, Canada, another writer reports. I work for a group of general practitioners during the height of the COVID and vaccine implementation. I can tell you firsthand that the physicians I work for purposefully did not, she's put not in capital letters, he or she report vaccine side effects regardless of their legal obligation to do so. When I inquired about it, I was strongly told to mind my own business. Interesting, another reporter says, I'm in British Columbia, and my reported side effects were not reported, and asked later how, and was told they could not tell me how to carry out the report. So I'm going to put those in the in the description for you to check on at leisure. Now, it is quite possible to report. I'll be looking at these in a minute, but I'm just going to show you them now. So this is the reporting system for Australia. The Australian one, I had to click through a few screens to find it, but I put the direct link there. So you can report directly to the Australian authorities on that site there. This is and all the details are there ready to fill out. Pretty straightforward, it has to be said. Anyone can report, of course. Yellow card system in the UK. Again, this is, I reported my vaccine side effect on the this yellow card system and found it really quite straightforward. Now, okay, I understood all the medical terminology, but I think you could get by pretty easily without. The average intelligent layer viewer could fill out this fairly readily. Some people might need a bit of help to fill it out, but individuals can fill it out. United States, again. Now I did have this on the United States, but my session's expired. But it is readily available in the United States, and again, I have posted the link to that. Now, underreporting is a huge issue. So let's just look at a little bit of the underreporting problem now. This is the Australian authorities, and this is their site here. It's generally acknowledged that adverse events are underreported around the world, they are saying, with estimates that 90 to 95% of adverse events do not reach the regulators. In recent years, it has emerged that adverse events reports from consumers contain information that is useful for monitors for the safety of therapeutic products. Well, of course, yeah. But there is low awareness of the available system. So that's from the Australian government site. Now, we know in Western Australia, I mean, if these figures are true, these figures are true, and only about 10% are being reported. Remember, it's 90 to 95% are not reported, so about 10% are being reported. Just think that what that does to the adverse events data that we looked at. So we ended up with about 0.241% of vaccinations for COVID in Australia causing adverse events. If we move that decimal point, we get to 2.4. Of course, we don't know that, but the underreporting is there. So that's how to report in Australia. There, the links there. That's how to report in the United Kingdom. That's how to report in the United States. And if you click on that directly, your link your timing won't have expired. Now, the yellow card data from the United Kingdom does have one of the pages has this, one of the government pages. Yellow card, don't wait for someone else to report it. And they say, again, this is the government site here. Check it out for yourself. Always check out my sources, make sure I'm not making it up. It's estimated that only 10% of serious reactions and between 2 to 4% of non-serious reactions are actually reported. So again, we see this horrendous rate of underreporting. And of course, the figures for adverse reactions that we have are those which actually have been reported. It's underreported. So 10% of serious adverse reactions in the UK, 2 to 4% of less serious reactions. Globally, this study here, again, available in the public domain, a study of 12 countries, 43 numerical reports of underreporting. So this is all around the world this is happening. The medium underreported rate across 37 studies was 94%, so only 6% of adverse reactions being reported in this study. In primary care, non-serious 95% were underreported, in other words 5% were reported. Serious or severe 80% were underreported, so 20% were reported of the more serious ones in primary care globally. But hospital-based, it was quite a lot worse. 85 to 95% were underreported. So in other words, that's 5 to 15%, isn't it, were actually reported. Huge problem of underreporting, greatly distorting the figures. So all these figures we see for adverse reactions are absolute minimum figures, absolute minimum figures. Now, I said to finish with a good news story. This is the project that you, if you watch this channel, are currently supporting. This is New Hope Children's Centre Uplands in Kenya that we've been supporting. I'm just going to give you one quick sort of insight into the work that we've been doing lately in Kenya. So this house here is you if you watch this channel and you tolerate these insufferable adverts, if you tolerate these adverts, you've helped pay for this. So thank you. So this is a house we've just built here. This is the dedication ceremony for the house. This is the new house that you see here, and a very nice, well-built house it is. I've got a very, very good friend in Kenya who supervises this work at the Uplands New Hope Centre for Children. Now, this is again the dedication service for the new house. Now, this lady here is Anne Cheggy. If you've got a good memory, you might remember that we interviewed her, and she is one inspirational woman, I can tell you. I've been there, I've done some work with her, I've visited many times. She is the real deal. All these people get the help directly, 100% and more of what is given goes directly. Big part of the problem in some countries, we won't mention any countries, but in some countries is corruption. So large-scale government aid might be given to particular projects. Probably half of it ends up in Swiss bank accounts, who knows. It certainly doesn't get to the people that need it in 100% of 100% of the donations don't get to people that need it, but with us it does, because we're small scale. So this is the house here. Again, the dedication ceremony for the house, which is good. It's you know, it's a respectful process of Thanksgiving. I think it's great. I think we miss that in this country. Now, I have got permission to show you this from the mother. This is the mum who's moved into this house. I'm not going to give too much about the details, but the mum's on her own. These were 4 children. Mum has been out working at the centre with Anne. They moved into this house, and without your help, without being melodramatic, they probably wouldn't be alive. So that's just part of what we're doing with the funds from the channel. And I will put a link if you want to donate directly as well. Again, we can send 100% of the money directly to Kenya. So as well as the community health work in Uganda, we're supporting this work in Kenya. And I'll put some links to some previous videos. Do watch them. The kids are just great. It's just every time I go, it's great at the time, and then in the car on the way home, I kind of have a bit of a breakdown because it's just such a tremendous work. So there you go. That's where your money's going. If you watch this channel, you have contributed towards this house. Thank you very much, and of course many other works that we do in that area. We'll leave it there. Good to end on a good news story for once. Pity about the underreporting. Pity about politicians and vested interests around the world. You know, sometimes, perhaps, who knows, not acting in the best interests of you and me, the common people. Thank you for watching.